And then of course, we're going to start with supplement companies are going to sue me, not clickbait. I'm really keen to see what this one has to say. So we're going to crack right into this. And I appreciate you all being here again for the 3rd million time. I find this shit so fun. It's like my ideal time spent, honestly. It's like top 10 favorite things to do right now. So let's check out the supplement companies are going to sue me, not clickbait, by Ryan Humiston. I hope I pronounced that right. This guy makes really good videos, to be honest. It's really, 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 really good content. I actually admire him.
This is going to change the way you look at supplements forever. I would bet that your supplement collection looks exactly like mine. Pre-workout, stem, no stem, creatine, glutamine, and of course protein. A lot of protein. And up until recently, I would have said no matter the category of supplement, they're all fairly similar. They have small tweaks in their formulation, and the only real noticeable differentiator is taste. But then I fell down a rabbit hole of class action lawsuits, FDA requested recalls, and analytical testing, and realized to this day, this is still one of the most corrupt and unregulated industries there is. Come on, how bad?
I mean, this doesn't even take a scientist to look at. You can go to any FDA website to see that there's hardly any regulation, and the amount of recalls is perplexing. If we just look back in history, pro-hormones, y'all remember pro-hormones? I just talked to a guy that had, he was going into liver failure. He was on the list for a liver transplant, and he actually recovered from pro-hormones. And that shit was just up in supplements, man. They didn't give a fuck. That shit was just hanging out in supplements like it was nobody's business. That shit is crazy. Also, as a pro tip, I think, is his name Ryan? I want to make sure I get that right. Ryan. I think he could do some good with his eyebrows, man. If he got some eyebrow tattoos, attraction would go up probably another point. I'm just saying. As another man to man, that's the way I look at it.
How bad is it? Well, in 2024, last year, a company came out with a mushroom chocolate bar. And it contained lion's mane, reishi, CBD, very mundane ingredients, and they marketed it as a psychedelic microdosing of mushrooms. The problem is they also snuck in actual psilocin, which is a controlled...
Oh my God. Can you imagine you're trying to take a supplement to get jacked, and then suddenly you're just tripping balls? You're fucking out there in full psychosis mode. It's 0.5 ml of test too much a week. I have no idea what your concentration of testosterone is, but I would generally say no, that's just fine. I don't know if I have a body dysmorphia or it's just me hanging around as shit people, but I was wondering if you can help me out and rate my physique and tell me if I'm on the right path. Yeah, bro, of course. Just send me if you can on Instagram your shiz, brother. I'll look at it and I'll pop it up here if we have time. For sure. Just send it to me on Insta.
One psychoactive substance, as well as a synthetic psilocin, and on top of that, sprinkled in a prescription anticonvulsant just for the hell of it. 73.
That's ridiculous. How does that end up in there? You just accidentally throw that in? Oops. Like these manufacturing plants aren't even, they're not pharmaceutical companies. So how does this even end up in a product? That's crazy. Twice per week, 0.5 ml. No, that's still not too much, especially if it's like 250 milligrams per ml. You're generally fine.
73 hospitalizations and 3 deaths later, it's off the market. I just picture somebody's grandma getting a hold of one of these things and flipping out, microwaving the cap. The problem is anybody can play this game. The fact that Amazon now requires third-party testing doesn't really mean shit, because it's not hard to get a high-quality benchtop sample.
The thing with Amazon is if you go on there, they'll be selling the same product in 8 different sellers. And how do you know each of those sellers doesn't just completely entirely fraud the product that they're selling? So what they do, and it's really smart, what they do is they will take a product. Let's say someone registers their product with Amazon, and they go through the whole 9. They go through everything. They get it registered. It's inspected. It passes. They're good to go. They start selling it on Amazon. What happens is other people will sell their product and do it for a cheaper price. It's like Amazon almost sells their trademark, or I don't know if how this works, right? I don't know how it works, but basically they get to sell the product for what Amazon makes from the product. They basically take that off of it. So it's like a couple bucks cheaper. But even worse, there's a guy who recently did this, and I should make a video on this video. But this company basically was taking his product, labeling everything, and then selling it, but at a cheaper price. And then he bought it to see what was going on. It is the same container. It's the exact same container, except the pills inside weren't his pills. They were completely different. In fact, it didn't have anything in the pills. He went to go test it. So it's like I don't know what they're doing. It seems like, generally speaking, when you get to like a billionaire level size company, there's always some sketchy shit going on.
Sample made. Submit that for testing, get the certificate, and use that same batch number on a lower quality product. That means that uncle of yours that used to make meth out of the bathtub can now repurpose it and use it to produce magnesium L-threonate. My goal with this video is obviously to call out any sneaky bullshit some of these companies are still pulling to this day. But even more important than that, I would like to come up with a strategy that helps me make better decisions in terms of what supplements are good and which ones are hot garbage. Because right now, I'm in the dark just like you. Who fucking knows? Let's start this off with the $22 billion global market of
Yeah, how has no one made a trend coin yet?
protein fuckery. We all remember back in 2015, 2016, several companies got caught for spiking their protein. That's one of them. Either sprinkling in some free-form amino acids, or even worse than that, adding non-protein containing nitrogen compounds, i.e. creatine. Real dick moves. But nobody really does that stuff anymore, right? Actually, maybe. Here's a study from 2021 that looked at 20 different commercial protein powders, and all of them had lower than labeled amounts of protein, ranging from 47% all the way down to 7%. Some of my more hardcore and
that means a bro is using his whey protein, thinking that he's getting a 30-gram serving, enough to protein to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, which, by the way, 3 grams of leucine, 30 grams of protein is the baseline minimum requirements to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. That means the bro's getting his shit, thinking he's going to stimulate that fucking thing using the protein shake, and he's not even doing half of that. That's crazy. I mean, to have 6% is nuts, dude. Let's rug pull... That's rug pull trend coin. How's your TikTok following? We're about 20K strong on there. So, I mean, we could give it a go. See what those TikTok brain people are gonna do. Throw it up. We'd probably hit it big. At least a little bit. At least a little bit. I'm looking like Toji. Yeah, bro. I'm rich. The Bugattis are outside. They're outside. We're just in here chilling. I make money from watching videos on YouTube. We're locked in.
or analytical nerd friends might say, well, the method they used often underpredicts the amount of protein because it has a hard time with hydrolyzed and free-form amino acids. But if we pair that study with this 2024 study that also found lower than expected grams of protein per serving, that then used an HPLC to detect the typical types of protein found in whey, and those were also a hell of a lot less than they should be. If these proteins truly contained a standard whey, then the total should be anywhere from 3 to 4 milligrams per milliliter. The highest of all of these. Why? Why would you do that? So either we're...
It's, you know, I hate to be the guy that says this, but this doesn't have to happen, right? Like, people can... Capitalism is really good at controlling mismanagement of well-being of their patrons, right? Like people, citizens. And the best way to handle this is to stop using supplements, stop buying protein powders, and just eat whole food. Problem solved. You can basically hit every nutrient that you ever need. There's a couple phytochemicals that you can take that have some exogenous benefits, but most of the nutrients you need are coming from a whole diet. And you don't need protein powders. You don't need all this bullshit. You just are spending so much money. If we really look at it, the cost per, let's say, 30 grams of protein from protein powder is pathetically awful compared to just buying a fucking chicken breast. Like, it is just such a silly concept to me. And I get the taste makes things taste good, right? I like putting whey protein in my Greek yogurt sometimes. But at the end of the day, I don't know when's the last time I have a bag of whey protein and I haven't touched it. I haven't even opened it. So it's like, I don't even know when I use that typically. I just think most people should be eating whole foods. It's too easy. There's so many good foods out there that are just whole proteins too. It's so good. Like steaks, we have mahi steaks. You have fucking, I love a good salmon, you guys. I love good salmon. It's just too easy. Yogurt, I could eat that every meal of the day. I've done it on this channel actually. I did a whole day of eating where I eat every meal was yogurt. Love it. I could do that shit on end. I love it so much. So I don't know. To me, it's like the problem would be solved if people just stopped buying this shit and never even made it an issue in the first place. Just completely remove all of the garbage supplements that don't matter. You'll be fine.
We're bringing back the good old days.
Should I swap out whey for... Yes. Look, here's the other thing, right? It's a good question. It's actually like, I don't know if you're trolling or not, but this is a good question. The reality is most bodybuilders, like people who are very, very analytical with their nutrition, are deficient in calcium. Like, are deficient in calcium. This is crazy. People will call themselves nutritionists and they're deficient in calcium. Eat more fucking yogurt. Drink more milk. Eat more protein. I love feta cheese. Put some feta cheese on shit. Why is everyone so afraid of cheese in bodybuilding? People need more calcium. It's just like, why are we going to go to fucking whey protein for our nutrients when we could eat all of these delicious and whole foods, and yet we're fucking going to, some garbage chocolate whey protein. It's just like chalky bullshit. I don't know. I'm not against whey protein. I think it has its place. It's just not very far and few between. Should I just swap out? Yeah. You should put protein in yogurt. Yeah, it tastes good when you do that, but you don't need to. That's the nice thing. Like if it's Greek yogurt, it has plenty of protein. A 300-gram serving of Greek yogurt has plenty of protein. It has like, I think 30 or 35 grams of protein. I asked a big Indian bodybuilder what he eats. They don't eat meat. He said a lot of dairy and beans. Yeah. And that shit works. Those dudes are jacked. Some of the best bodybuilders in the world are in India right now. They just don't have money to come over here. Yeah. I think it's absolutely preposterous, man. It just does not make sense. I don't know. You'd save money, you'd get more nutrition, and you'd probably get food that tastes better at the end of the day. Thoughts on kefir and cottage cheese? I love it. Kefir is one of my favorite foods to include in people's diets. Honestly, I love including kefir. It's a great source of calcium. It has a great deal of probiotics, and it's super easy to digest. For people who struggle to digest dairies, who actually have stomach issues, kefir is like the one thing most people can tolerate. I think it's great. It tastes super thick and milky too. I love that. A nice cup in the morning is beautiful for the gut health and for general well-being. Yeah, I do it for just flavor. Yeah, and that's, think, where you should define it as a product. It's just for flavor. I don't usually treat it as nutrients, to be fair. If someone's having whey protein in their diet, and maybe my clients are in here and they can attest, but I don't typically put it in a significant portion, or a whole portion of the meal. Usually the meal's already accumulated about 30 grams of protein via whole proteins. The whey proteins just to add to the oats or to the yogurt or whatever it might be. Yeah, I'm done with the whey. I swear it's clogging me up. It probably is. It probably is. It's not like it actually does anything, but there's good enough data for me to say, hey, these massive amounts, which they're in very high doses in whey protein, these massive amounts of artificial sweeteners probably aren't the best thing for the GI function. They're probably not the best thing. And especially when people are very underfed in pre and postbiotics, you might as well just get your food from real food.
Good old days of screwing people like it's 2015, or there is an egregious problem with the protein manufacturing process as a whole. And I know there's going to be a comment that says, yeah, that's why I only eat whole food.
Hey, he knows who he's talking to.
Cool. It's nothing more hardcore than an intra-workout chicken breast, but you still have to admit there'd be times when it would be more optimal to have a protein powder that you could trust. And this brings up an important point that I haven't heard anybody talk about, because most people don't have the same Asperger's-fueled ADD that I do. And that's the fact that up to this point, we've just been talking about the quantity of protein.
This is interesting. I noticed I'm becoming more handsome and regaining my youthfulness after stopping competitive bodybuilding and blasting gear. Just a 500 test feels good, man. Hopefully it gets me better, even better. Yeah, bro, look at me. If you go back, dude, I don't know, 6 months on this channel and look at my face. People literally DM me all day trying to hit me up for shit because of how handsome I look. I don't think I look handsome. But compared to 6 months ago, I look like I'm 40 years fucking old, man. It's crazy. I haven't literally injected testosterone for probably 3 weeks now. And that's like TRT dose at that point, So I agree with you. I think, bodybuilding is just this oxidative mess that it does really, especially mostly for males, it damages your organs in specific tissue on the outside, your skin, and it results in severe photoaging. Severe photoaging. Rocco says you can add other cheap things for flavor too. Fruit, cinnamon, sweetener, honey. Yeah, and I absolutely agree. One of my favorite meals actually is Greek yogurt berries, like blueberries, honey, and oats. Best meal you could ever have in a bowl. Oh my God, that tastes so good. I could literally eat that on a daily basis, multiple times a day. Easy. I'm working on starting a supplement company right meow for many herb extracts, collagen, etc. I believe it'll be called Ours. I promise it'll be helpful and real. I hope so. I don't doubt you. I don't doubt you. I just think it's very hard to find legitimate manufacturers, because the reality of this whole situation that we're talking about right now is I doubt that it is the actual company owners that are at fault. I do. I think that it's more of the actual manufacturing plants that are producing these products and then putting them out into that, because there's only a few manufacturing plants, right? I think Mark Lobliner, who makes tons of protein, said there's about 4 plants that manufacture proteins. So if, you know, if 32 out of the 60 companies are all buying their protein from the same manufacturing plant, can they really do anything about it? Probably not, you know? You're very handsome, Kolton, but I have bad acne scars and I'm very ugly. Bodybuilding made me a monster. There's ways around that, man. There's ways around that. I don't want to make this whole video about like looks maxing and stuff, but you can apply like topical tretinoin, which will cause skin cells to turn over much quicker, resulting in a fresher layer of skin being atop. And then what you can do as well, as say like once, maybe twice a week with a very shallow needle, but a derma roller, is derma roll your forehead or wherever those scars are, allow it to heal. And then furthermore, you can get laser resurfacing treatment. Laser resurfacing treatment is shockingly good to eliminate photoaging of the skin and scarring. So highly suggest that. Do you believe just TRT ages you, or are you talking about blasting? I'm talking about blasting gear. I'm talking about like, you know, people using 500 milligrams plus of androgens. The guys that you see who are really youthful and do look very jacked, they're usually using something around 500 milligrams per week of total androgens. They're not using more than that. When you start getting into doses that are exceeding 1 gram or 800 milligrams, and then you're adding also other things like growth hormone, insulin, there is so much oxidative stress applied to the body that you just absolutely tear yourself apart. Absolutely just obliterate yourself. Obliterate yourself. I feel great on 175 milligrams a week. Yeah, me too. I think right around 150 to 250, somewhere in there is like the perfect dose for most people. Most people. Have you seen Sam Sulek's skin on his recent cut? It looks rough, yeah. Generally, it's going to look worse on a cut because you have less fat underneath your face to fill out the loose skin, right? Because you do produce a lot of wrinkles and edges and stuff when you're doing bodybuilding. And then when you're in an off season, your fat fills out that skin, so it pulls it tight. But when you lose the weight, the fat goes away, and then it kind of droops down again. And so it makes you look very much so older or aged. Yeah.
Protein in these products, but not the quality. To do that, we have to get into a little bit of basic chemistry. Some of you may have heard of the Maillard reaction, and if not, just think of it as...
Has anyone here heard of the Maillard the Maillard reaction? Has anyone looked at the Maillard? Jesus. I just want to say lard reaction.
But as the
No, I haven't.
browning effect when you're cooking a steak. It's when simple...
Oh, okay. Well, I know what this is, and I know like the actual reaction in a chemical sense, but not the name for it. So that's, hey, we know now.
Sugars react with amino acids. The reason this is important to us is because the essential amino acid lysine has 2 amino groups, one of which being a more reactive epsilon amino group, and when that reacts with a simple sugar, it becomes unavailable. The reason we could care less about this when it comes to something like a steak is because steak is a muscle, and there's very little simple sugars in a muscle except for the small amount of glucose that's stored as glycogen, but in protein powders, there could be a very little or a shitload of lactose. The spray drying process that all protein goes through to go from a paste-like substance, like the delicious one I used to eat in art class, to a dry powder that hides the scooper is hot enough to induce the Maillard reaction. But they also found another thing that can induce that reaction is just sitting on the shelf for long periods of time. So that protein you've had for 4 years in your cabinet, probably not doing so great. The key thing I want you to take away is there is a significant correlation between the amount of carbohydrates in the protein powder and the amount of blocked lysine. Now, is blocked lysine the end of the world? No, but it does help us make better decisions going forward. For instance, I'll never buy a concentrate again, no matter how well they market it, and stick to isolates, hydrosylates, and caseins that have the...
So true. This is such a good point. Another thing that I always try to specify when I'm talking about building programs and diets, whey isolate or hydrolyzed whey protein or caseins or third-party batch-tested collagen proteins are the only way to go. Only way to go when it comes to your powdered proteins. These are the ones that you know are going to be generally good quality. Especially, I just have people more often than not use collagen proteins because I do think that that's another area in which oftentimes bodybuilders in general, enthusiasts of fitness can be very deficient in. And it's generally a very good idea to boost collagen synthesis. There are some solutions to that. Yeah, some solutions to the skin collagen with GH, antioxidant, taurine, vitamin C, E. Yeah, absolutely. These are really great options as well for reducing photoaging of the skin. I specifically like collagen in high doses of vitamin C. But I do think when it comes down to it, a lot of what people need is truly and unfortunately Botox, because the Botox just stops muscles from hypertrophying on the face, and that actually makes your face look way younger. And also laser skin resurfacing. I think it's just one of the best things you could do. And this is a guy talking from a perspective of someone that's very careful with what I do to my face. I think some take Accutane to beat, yeah. Okay, yeah, I think some take the Accutane to beat the acne that comes from the gear. Not sure though. You're absolutely right. Yeah, people take. I've talked about it before on this channel actually, where the protocol is like a high dose, like super dosing acne or Accutane. Geez, so going up to like 120 milligrams a day for about 12, maybe 8 to 12 weeks until you get that genomic change, which is basically those pores actuating in their size and shrinking. Then you've kind of sustained a permanent change in your skin that will result in you having further reduced acne evermore again, which is very positive. But it's also risky because you're also jeopardizing your hepatic system and you're doing lots of other things. It's not just like free lunch, which really sucks. Just grow a mustache. That's all people will stare at. True. Very true. Yeah, Accutane can legit poison people. It can, especially if you're, like women need to be very careful. It's a very, like, you can have permanent issues too, right? So the permanent effects won't just be genomically in your pores and like sebaceous glands. It might actually be in your lips with like dry lip syndrome, which you can have permanently dry lips for the rest of your life. Imagine having to put chapstick on all your days for the rest of your life. Like, that's crazy. You also can have achy joints and joint issues and arthritis developed from Accutane long-term, permanently. So it's definitely a big issue with some people. I still recommend it. I think it's a life-changing thing for people, but the dose exposure needs to be very limited. I don't think you should be on it for a long time. And I know some doctors put people on it for years, and I'm just pull my hair out at that. I think generally a higher dose for a short duration is probably the way to go.
Have the least amount of carbohydrates. Give me 0. And some people might say, well, aren't those more processed? Isn't that bad? No, you dumb mother. Processing, refinement, and even the denaturing of protein isn't a bad thing. Technically, that's just the unfolding of the protein from its 3D structure, and it's still 100% bioavailable. The best analogy I can give you is, I'm sure you've seen those guys in remote African tribes that take their dick, wrap it around a stick, and stretch to the floor, and then wrap it around themselves like a belt. At the end of the day, it's still a dick, even though it functions as a belt. Yeah.
That was a good one. I wish I had a humor and I could laugh, but that was good.
It's never a bad idea to choose a supplement based upon whether or not they have a certification, whether it's a USP or the harder to get NSF. But the more analytical chemists I talk to, just because they met the standard to get the certification doesn't mean they uphold the standard. Yes, NSF certifications have annual check-ins to make sure the standards are still in place, but not to go full conspiracy theory.
One thing I mad respect for this dude is how many times he changes camera angles. He changes camera angles every 10 to 15 seconds. You know how long that's going to take him to put this together? And I get he probably has a camera on a tripod, but every time you do it, you got to make sure the lighting is right on the camera, the settings are right, the focus is in focus. I mean, it's crazy, dude. The amount of times he probably has to shift, move around. It takes probably hours to make a 10-minute video.
Theorist on you. Even though these certifications appear to be a consumer-friendly business looking out for you and me, they get paid by the companies to put their logo on the bottle. So it makes sense to just keep letting them fuck up. And if you think that's crazy, go look up the companies that have lost their NSF certification. Don't worry, I'll wait, because you won't find any. So even though there's hundreds of products every year that get recalled because they suck, and it wasn't hard to find that one of those was also NSF certified, so it begs the question, what happened there, bud? Which brings us to our next category of deceit that I'm gonna call bullshit science. And I'm not even talking about anything like the O'Hearn duck eggs. It goes beyond that. I'm talking about when a company uses terms like clinically proven or science-backed to promote their product when the evidence for the ingredient at best is conflicting. The testosterone boosting market is full of this. Of the 109 supplements that have all been marketed as having the ability to increase your total testosterone, only 27 actually have evidence to show that they truly can. And of those 27, 15 also have evidence that shows they either have no effect or can decrease your testosterone. So that sucks. For example, even if we look at a supplement with good supporting evidence around it, like Tongkat Ali, when you look at the 5 most prominent studies and average out the total testosterone increase, it's only around 77 nanograms per deciliter. And if you're wondering why somebody who actually takes testosterone would care about this, it's because I see commercials with Doug Flutie, who said his life was falling apart before he took a supplement like this, and now he's happier than ever, and he's Eiffel Towering girls with Frank Thomas every night. It gives false hope to men with real hypogonadism. The worst abuser of bullshit science is a company that
What's up, blue collar? Well, I never know which one it is, so I'm just gonna call the name by the username because it could be 2 different people.
constantly emails me trying to pay me to promote.
Imagine how long the editing takes for this video. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A video probably isn't just a one and done ordeal. It's probably like a week, multi-week ordeal. People don't realize that editing is the lengthiest process. Like a 10-minute video for me can take up to, like if I send it to an editor, it can take up to 2 days to get back. If I edit it, I'm really fast at editing, but it's not going to be nearly as good, and it'd still take like 3 or 4 hours to finish an edit like that. So according to this, I mean, or based on this, I just have no idea how he's like. I mean, it makes sense. He's like really, really doing well on YouTube and can afford stuff like that, but I certainly can't. It's crazy. According to Greg Doucette, he's the only one with Real Turk. Yeah, according. I made a whole video on that. I broke it down, talked about it all. Didn't get much exposure, unfortunately, but I went through everything. I went through all the evidence, just like this guy's doing. I went through everything and talked about that, and it is truly, truly an interesting bit. Unfortunately, it seems that turkesterone as a whole is just not an effective supplement, and in fact, it has no. There was actually just a study released like a week ago that showed turkesterone had no effects on elevating IGF-1 or mTOR response in the human body at all. And it had no effect on fat-free mass. So, I don't know. That was a very big review, too. There was a huge review. So, it's just another version of snake oil, if we're being honest. And it's unfortunate because Greg's a good guy. We've talked in the DMs. He's a good dude. I just think he needs to make his money, probably. And here's the thing, man. God damn, here's the thing. This is the crazy shit, right? About social media and all this. You start to live a lifestyle that it's set by the pace of your income. And that pace has to keep itself sustained. If I go buy a Lamborghini and I have payments on that Lamborghini for $2,200 a month, I need to pay those payments. So let's say I'm in a position where my views are declining, which Greg's did. They have been compared to his peak. And I'm not making as much ad revenue. And I'm not making as much sales on my ebook anymore, nor are people hiring me for coaching as much. I'm going to have to start selling my product a lot more. Even if I do know, even if I get some true data out there that supports entirely my product is not legit, well, fuck, what am I going to do? I have to make all these payments now. I got divorced and I have payments for that. I have, 6 cars. I have payments for all of those. You know how much money that costs per month? I have a house and a mortgage that I have to pay for. So yeah, they're not going to go back on their word and talk about how, oh yeah, my product is garbage and blah, blah, blah. Because no matter how much their audience is like, oh, we don't care, thank you so much for being honest, they're still making way less money, dude. Way less money. Yeah, OnlyFans time. Exactly. And it's the same thing with, I talk about this in a recent video I'm dropping, actually. I think it just dropped it with Wes Swanson. It's like you get to a point where you're living your life in such a way where he has to make that much money. He talks about how it's no problem or whatever, but I don't know about you. I know what it feels like to overspend, and then you have to live at that rate. And if you slow down at all, you got to start producing more, baby. It's a cash machine. You just got to keep fucking going. You're having a bad day, too fucking bad. You got to get working. You got to fucking get working and make more money, or you're not making it. You're not fucking making it. And that's a terrifying thing. And so, yeah, a lot of these people are probably selling bullshit, but they can't afford to not sell it. They can't afford to just let go. So, because like, what does he do? You know, he spent how much thousands and thousands and thousands, maybe millions of dollars to produce these things, to order massive quantities, because the MOQ for it's probably crazy. The minimum required quantity of per order is probably huge. So we're talking easily several $100,000 per order, easily. And then you got to sell that product, or you're sitting on it. And it's just like, you had to pay the graphic designers. You got to pay for the website. You got to pay. So it's like, what are they going to do? Not sell it? No, he's going to believe in that shit because he has to.
Promote their products, which I assume will stop after this, is AG1. Their website is full of percentages from in vitro studies that don't mean shit. And the only double-blind, placebo-controlled trial they've done sucks all the dicks. Even with them putting as much spin as they could on the results, the best they could say was that 2 of the probiotics were able to survive the GI passage and reach the large intestine. To put it plainly, you're able to ingest their product, which has those 2 probiotics in it, and you're able to shit them out. Congratulations, you've made corn. Everything from your mouth to your asshole is still considered the outside world. The only thing that matters is what you pull in or what becomes part of your system. Another category we have to talk about is one that I call sneaky bastards. This is when companies fail to disclose an ingredient that most people wouldn't give 2 shits about, but for some reason, they hide it anyways. A good example of this is Element. They said they had 4 milligrams of maltodextrin in their product, but it turns out after a little analytical testing, they have up to 550 milligrams, and they hide it in the natural flavoring. Now, I don't really give a shit about an extra 2 calories. It's the fact that they lied, because they're basically just selling us a delicious salt because the magnesium and potassium levels are completely off. So I know you're making a huge margin. You could at least get it right without sneaking in some other shit. And when you read their response, it was just, oops. What this actually does is highlight a bigger issue that a lot of people are going to start to figure out, that I found out when I tried to develop my own supplements, is that if you want something to taste good, you have to hire a third-party company to come in and develop a flavor system for your product. And you don't have to label that as shit. That could just be under artificial or natural flavoring. And they could put in whatever the hell they want. There could be a guy in the factory line that just drops his balls in every jug just to zest it up. Or they hide it.
I'd pay more for that. I feel like I'd get a bigger testosterone boost from something like that than I would anything else. Fuck your creatine. Give me that nut dip. Give me that nut dip powder, man. Give me that sweaty Indian nut dip powder. That's the shit that's going to get me big.
In some sort of maltodextrin. You get the point. So after all of that, it begs the question, how in the hell are we supposed to figure out what supplements are any good? I had somebody reach out and say, you should check out Now Supplements because they do this.
It's a good point. Crazy how much money a company can make on people just not eating their veggies. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, huh? Because like the product is marketed like, replace your greens with this powder. Why not just keep eating your greens, bud? Just keep eating the fucking greens, buddy. Like, cook up some spinach and slap that shit down your gullet with a bison, dude. It's great. Like a bison patty, some spinach. You're tripping, bro. Not the nut dip powder, boys. That's branded. Okay, if I can find a Indian manufacturing company that's going to have teabaggers teabag every tub of protein, I'm making that. We'll call it the teabag.
They do this kind of analytical testing as well, and they turn in companies that fail, but that's like somebody's little brother who tattletales all the time, and the more I looked into it, they've also failed tests. So all they're really doing is saying, hey, you should go check out that company, they suck, when in reality, they suck as well. I like the idea of consumer labs, but they test things that none of us would ever take. Have you ever heard of that? What is that? What is that? So I was gonna end this video by saying, sorry, I failed. There's no way to even know. No one's coming for you. But just by a stroke of dumb luck, I got connected to a startup that I think is going to change everything. They're running these analytical tests on the supplements that we all use, putting it inside an app, and there is no subscription, paywall, bullshit like that. It's going to be live in 2 months.
That's big. But I'm curious of their affiliations with certain things and how they're making their income if there's no subscriptions or fees at all. That's a very curious endeavor, because may it be the companies that are paying them to say that their products are good. Some sponsorships from brands possibly. I don't know.
2 months. And the best part is they said, ask your community what you want us to test and we'll test it. So I'm going to put a link below to a form and you tell me what protein powders, pre-workouts, creatine, gas station boner pills that are probably hiding some sort of Viagra in them. We're going to blow these companies up. They are going to be pissed. Also, something that I didn't even mention, they're doing heavy metals testing. And wouldn't you guess, one of the companies I talked about earlier failed said test. You guys are
That's a good video.
Believe that successful
I like that.
internal.
That's like, you know, it's a real problem. It's tangible. I'm glad he talked about it. It's not something you see every day. And I think it's also something that happens to everybody every day. So putting it in front of people is probably extremely important. Extremely important. I'm happy he did that. The only thing is now I'm jealous because I don't think I could do something like that. A video of such high quality productions. Do I know all of the information he said? Sure. Yeah, many videos have said it before, many people have said it before, but he presented it in such a way that I think it grips. It's grippy.